In a night already steeped in emotion, Jungkook's unexpected appearance at Jin's solo tour stop in London has sent armies around the world into an emotional spiral, not because of a reunion on stage, but because of what happened in the crowd. During Jin's performance of Loser, one of the most vulnerable tracks from his second solo album, Echo, a fan-captured video shows Jungkook sitting silently in the VIP section, visibly emotional, wiping away tears as Jin sang. The clip, only 12 seconds long, has already garnered over 9.8 million views on X, formerly Twitter, with the hashtag Jungkook in Tears trending at #1 worldwide. The performance was raw, layered with pain, introspection, and longing. But fans say the moment became something far more powerful when the camera briefly caught Jungkook's face trembling, eyes glistening, as he watched his young bare his soul on stage. Fans believed Jungkook had been planning to stay low-key, but his reaction proved too strong to hide. He reportedly left the venue immediately after Jin's performance of Echo, escorted quickly out a side entrance, with his head lowered. No photos, no wave, no acknowledgement, only silence. HYB has remained silent on the incident, refusing to confirm Jungkook's attendance. But fans don't need confirmation, they felt it. And to them, this wasn't about a surprise appearance. It was about love, about memory, about healing. Jin's world tour, Run Seokjin EP Tour, which began in late June and ends in Amsterdam on August 10th, has been hailed as one of the most emotionally rich solo endeavors by a BTS member. But this London stop, thanks to a tearful glance from a younger brother in the crowd, may be remembered as its most unforgettable moment, as the final echoes of Jin's voice faded into the London air. A hush fell over the stadium, not out of silence, but reverence. Something had just happened, something that transcended music, stage lights, or choreography. It wasn't just a performance, it was a moment of connection. And it all centered on the quietest man in the room, Jungkook. He hadn't come to be seen. There was no red carpet, no cameras flashing, no announcement. He came alone, wrapped in simplicity, a cap pulled low, sleeves covering his wrists, and a face hidden by shadows. But when Jin began to sing Loser, all the layers of protection seemed to fall away. Jungkook didn't move. He didn't shift in his seat. His eyes never left the stage. The song, already heartbreaking in its own right, took on a new weight with Jungkook's presence. The lyrics seemed sharper, more personal. And when Jin's voice cracked ever so slightly during the bridge, that was the moment fans say they saw it. Jungkook's hand moved up to his cheek, subtly, quickly. He wiped it once, then again. And then he stopped trying to hide. He wasn't crying loudly. He wasn't breaking down. It was something far more powerful. He was letting go just a little of everything he'd held in the years of waiting. The military days. The silence between members as they walked their separate paths. The pride of seeing Jin on that stage, finally on his own. The guilt of not always being there. The ache of growing older in a world that never stops watching. And maybe, above all, it was love. Jin's glance toward the section where Jungkook sat didn't go unnoticed. It lasted less than 2 seconds, but the smile was different. Soft, bittersweet. And when he whispered, "You came," into the microphone, armies around the world held their breath. He didn't say Jungkook's name. He didn't need to. That sentence carried a decade of meaning. When the show ended, Jin bowed, not just to the crowd, but to something more intimate. And by the time he exited the stage, Jungkook was already gone. No fanfare, no goodbye, just a quiet exit, as if he were never meant to be part of the spotlight. Only the heartbeat behind it. But the fans knew. They saw the tears. They felt the ache. They replayed the moment again and again, whispering to each other online. That wasn't just a concert, that was closure. That was love. The world may never get an official photo. There may never be confirmation. But none of that matters. Because in that arena, under the haze of pyrotechnics and soft guitar notes, two souls met again. One on stage, one in the shadows. And for a brief, trembling song, they were together. And for those who have followed BTS from the beginning, from the gritty rehearsal rooms in Seoul to the grand arenas of the world, that moment in London wasn't just touching, it was transformative. It reminded armies of why they stayed, why they cried, why they waited. Because BTS has never been just about choreography, or fashion, or chart-topping hits. It has always been about the human behind the idol. The boy who left home at 15. The man who stood on stage trembling with pride and pain. The brother who sat in the shadows, crying silently for someone who once carried him through his darkest nights. Fans say this was never about publicity. Jungkook's appearance wasn't staged. His tears weren't performative. In fact, his very presence seemed to carry a kind of rebellion, a quiet defiance of the industry's hunger for spectacle. He didn't come to be seen. He came to feel. And in doing so, he gave millions permission to feel with him. The next day, Jin posted a single photo to Weverse, him standing alone backstage, still in a stage outfit, holding a white rose. No caption, no hashtags, just a faint watermark in the corner that read, 7. Always. That was all it took for ARMYs to break down again. Speculation ran wild. Was it for Jungkook? Was it a reference to the 7 members? Or perhaps a quiet promise that no matter how far they roam, no matter how loud the world gets, they are never truly apart. Neither Jin nor Jungkook have spoken publicly about that night. There were no interviews, no press statements, no stylized behind-the-scenes footage. And perhaps that's what makes it so sacred. In a world obsessed with content, this was a rare gift, a moment that belonged only to them, and to the fans who loved them enough to notice. As Jin's tour prepares to close in Amsterdam, there is a renewed electricity in the air. Fans are no longer just watching for vocals or visuals. They're watching for glances, for meaning, for presence. Because now they know, the story isn't just on the setlist. Sometimes, it's in the space between verses. In a tear that falls without warning. In a whisper from the stage to a brother in the dark. And in the invisible thread that continues to tie them all together, no matter how far the world pulls them apart. That night in London will be remembered not as a concert, but as a turning point. A memory carved into the heart of every ARMY who has ever believed in the love between members. A moment that proved, beyond all doubt, that even in silence, BTS speaks the loudest. And long after the lights dimmed and the fans trickled out of the O2 Arena, the weight of that moment still lingered, in fan cafes, message boards, and private group chats across every time zone. People weren't just talking about the set list or the pyrotechnics anymore.
They were talking about him.
About Jungkook, not as the global pop star, not as the golden magne, but as a younger brother watching someone he's grown up with bare his soul on stage. It wasn't just admiration in his eyes. It was longing. It was memory. It was a kind of grief for time lost and a silent apology wrapped in every blink. Some fans believe the timing of Jungkook's appearance wasn't coincidental. Jin's London show fell just 3 days before their scheduled private reunion for upcoming BTS projects. For many, it felt like a quiet torch passing, not from senior to junior, but from one soul to another who knows the same weight. Jin, the eldest, the first to leave for the military, now leading a new path through his solo artistry. And Jungkook, the youngest, perhaps finally ready to follow his own road, but not without looking back one last time. Even the media couldn't ignore the undercurrent. Headlines around the world quickly shifted. Jungkook's quiet tears speak louder than words. What really happened in London? From magne to witness, Jungkook watches Jin in the most vulnerable moment of his career. BTS is coming back, but what if they never really left each other? This wasn't fan service. It wasn't a manufactured emotional arc. It was something real, raw, and startling in its simplicity. 2 men, one on a stage, one in the shadows, and the space between them filled with everything they never said, but always felt. ARMYs began creating artwork, edits, and tributes. Some stitched together old clips of Jin and Jungkook from their debut years. A young magne clinging to his hyung on cold music show stages, Jin teasing him during practice, the two laughing on tour buses in the middle of nowhere. When placed side by side with the footage from London, it felt like a full-circle moment. The boy who once needed protection now silently protecting the one who guided him there. There's a saying among fans. They speak in silence, and we hear every word. That couldn't have been more true that night. Jin and Jungkook didn't have to post selfies or exchange tweets. They didn't need matching outfits or a surprise duet. Their bond unfolded in something quieter, deeper, a single shared gaze across a sea of lights, a tear wiped away when no one was supposed to notice, and a whispered, "You came," that said everything without saying much at all. And maybe, in the end, that's what makes BTS timeless. Not just their music or their fame, but the way they carry each other. In war, in peace, in joy, and in heartbreak. As the Run Seokjin EP tour nears its final stop, fans will keep replaying that London night. Not because of the confetti or the crowd, but because of what wasn't scripted.